Let's get into a Wednesday wrangle with Danica De Giorgio, Sky News host here on the desk, of course, and Justin Smith, of course, columnist and broadcaster, joining us from Melbourne. Mate, how many days do you work a week? You reckon 4 would do it?
Oh, man. Whew, what a sweet deal. What a sweet deal to work 4 days a week. You know, wouldn't it? It'd be nice, wouldn't it? Because they did a study that I think took in about 3,000 people from 6 countries, and they said it certainly reduces burnout and makes people's well-being far better. But unfortunately, they didn't look at productivity. No. And I wish they had of, because if they had, it might have shown that it works. Look, it could work, but I don't think we've seen a proper study to say that it does.
It does make me lazy. Nice. It's got to make you laugh, though. You have a productivity forum, supposedly, and the union's contribution is we'll have another day off. Oh. Now, I know the Kenny report's only 4 days a week, but I write a column too, and I work about an 80-hour week.
I was going to mention that.
Exactly. I've always told off for working too much. Exactly. What do you reckon of this?
Oh, please. I mean, no wonder the unions have got a front row seat at next week's Productivity Commission. Why would you want to go into business right now in this country, Chris? Yeah. You've got the unions with their fingers in every single pie. Electricity bills are through the roof. IR laws. You just wouldn't want to touch it right now. I mean, do the unions actually understand how business operates? Because clearly they have got no idea. And I feel so sorry for Melbourne businesses with this possible legislation. You know, let employers decide from themselves what they want to do for their own businesses. Stop dictating how people should be living their lives.
Yeah, get governments and unions out of it. You might get some productivity. Don't want to spend too long on the Middle East because we do a lot on it, but I have talked about how morally repugnant I found the government's decision, but I've also had a bit of fun tonight just pointing out the vacuity of what Anthony Albanese and Penny Wong have had to say. They are basically speaking like beauty pageant queens on foreign affairs. Have a look.
President Trump has made it very clear that he wants to see peace in the region. Australia wants to see peace in the region.
I was given 30 seconds to give a message to the global terrorists. Is that what you said? Okay. I would just say that, you know, I know as Miss USA, I can always spread a message of hope and love and peace.
It's not unfair, is it, Danica? I mean, that's Albo. He's just saying there's going to be peace because we're going to tell Hamas to lay down their arms.
Yeah, I actually think the beauty queens are way more articulate than our own Prime Minister, and that is saying something. Look, it's very clear Anthony Albanese has no idea what he's on about. It's like he says words just because he's got to fill time at press conferences. Yesterday, of course, he said from the river to the ocean, and now today he was waffling on about nonsense. But look, I completely agree with you. This is a disgraceful decision. Hamas coming out today giving Anthony Albanese the golden sticker on his forehead. It is another dark day for this country. It's an abomination of our values. But we always knew that this was going to happen. This was always going to reward Hamas. And I just feel for today, the Jewish community once again in this country who are suffering under this ridiculous Prime Minister who doesn't know whether he's coming or going.
Give us your thoughts, Justin, on how Albanese shakes off this endorsement from Hamas and how on earth he's going to implement a plan that basically says give them a state and then Hamas will lay down its weapons.
Well, I'm not endorsing the plan, but I've got to say, when did we start believing what Hamas said? We've never believed them before, nor should we ever believe them before. They're lying, murdering bastards. But all of a sudden they come out with this ringing endorsement and we believe that they're telling us the truth. I mean, they're just as likely to be saying that because they know it's going to tick off Israel and they know it's going to tick off everybody who's been supporting Israel. They're just as likely to be saying it for that very reason. But we've got to look at it right now and say, look, surely what we've got right now isn't working. Now, I'm not suggesting for a second that Anthony Albanese has the proper solution here, but what we have is currently not working. And if we don't recognise that, then peace is so far away, it's almost unimaginable.
Justin, Hamas want one state, their own state, and to wipe out Israel. In fact, it is in their charter. I agree that we can't believe everything that Hamas says.
I'm not sticking up for Hamas. Where did you get that?
I'm not suggesting that you're sticking up for Hamas, and I do agree with you. I do agree with you that we can't trust what Hamas says. But the point I'm trying to say is here that if you're going to say we're going to recognise a Palestinian state, it benefits one person, it benefits one group, and that is Hamas. And this is exactly what has happened today. We cannot be surprised that Hamas has released this statement saying that Anthony Albanese had the political courage. This was always going to happen.
Yeah, I think, Justin, you're saying what we're doing is not working. The point is you've got to wipe out Hamas. You've got to disarm Hamas. And you can't do that by asking them. You've either got to fight them or let them go. And Albanese is saying, let them go. Stop the fighting. Well, then what does Hamas do?
No, look, come on. He's not saying let them go, is he? He's not saying let Hamas go and do what they're doing.
He's saying
come on, listen, I'm not here to stand up in front of the Prime Minister, but he's not saying that. He's not saying that.
He is saying stop the fighting, and he says Hamas will then disarm. That is ludicrous.
No, well, they're not going to disarm. No, they're not going anywhere. You're not going to get mate. You're not going to get an argument out of me about Hamas needing to go. But what we've currently got isn't working.
Well, what we've currently got at the moment is a disaster, but what we've got is a Prime Minister keen to make it worse from his latest stance. Let's go to a former Prime Minister. This is a little bit of good news. This is sort of one of those things you like to say only happens in Australia, because this bloke is a former Prime Minister of this great nation, and he was reduced to directing traffic the other night as people were crowded coming out of a theatre. Oh, we had a still there. The clip's not working. We'll roll that if it comes through. But Tony Abbott was there directing traffic. I imagine what he'd be saying would be, stop the cars, stop the cars. But it's typical of the sort of bloke he is, right? He's a model citizen. He's a model citizen. Well, he's a firefighter. He's now, a traffic warden. And I found this fascinating. So this was in the car park of the Sydney Theatre Royale, where he was actually guiding people in to go and watch Cats the musical, I believe. I mean, is there anything that this former Prime Minister couldn't do? In fact, you know what would be really good right now, Chris, is if Tony Abbott actually was the Prime Minister still. Perhaps a lot of the problems in this country right now would have been solved already if we had a man like him back in power. It would be a good thing. I know Justin won't agree with that. But it'd be a good thing, actually, if he stopped people seeing cats and he was running the country.
I'm not surprised at all. Any of us who's actually met Tony Abbott knows that he's a really good guy. He's a funny, intelligent, engaging bloke, no matter what you think of his politics. So to see him do this doesn't shock me at all, although I would like to see him get some new ties. I think that's the tie he was wearing when he got elected as Prime Minister, and it's the same bloody tie he was wearing when he left the Lodge. So, we'll work on the wardrobe, but good guy.
That's the Julia Gillard tie. Don't start me on all that. Look, just quickly talk about stuff that you'd think you'd never see. Donald Trump now is going to get a UFC, that's that sort of crazy fighting caper, on the lawns of the White House. Here's the UFC boss.
There is talk of a July 4th fight. America's 250th birthday next summer.
Where at?
At the White House.
Okay.
It's a pretty big venue. Is that going to happen, Dana? What can you tell us?
It is definitely going to happen. I talked to him last night, him being the president, and I'm flying out there at the end of this month. Yeah, when he called me and asked me to do it, he said, I want Ivanka in the middle of this.
Good Lord, you've only got 10 seconds each. You can't use the White House for this, can you, Justin? No, he said it all.
No, you know what? I think it's great. America's back, baby. That is America.
I tell you what. Do they have people to hold up the scorecards and whatever at UFC? If so, they ought to get Sydney Sweeney in for that. It'll be an absolute winner. Of course. America will be back. Thanks so much.
A disgrace to the office.
Thanks so much for joining us, Justin and Danica. We'll catch you.